Right, in the previous part 3, we made animations for the bear, and it's time to make him some pants. But the problem is, if you've got existing animations, it can sometimes slip back into that animation while you're trying to work, when you want to keep the bear steady. So if you look at the list here, we've been accumulating. I made a bear wave for the final frames of the previous video. So I've had to make him a T-pose to keep him steady. And we'll leave it on that T-pose so we can carry on. Okay, so back to the layout workspace. And he's in object mode at the moment. But it would be easier if I did not need to see these bones while I'm working on the pants. So I'm just going to close the eye on Avatar. Now we can begin. So make sure nothing is selected and be in object mode up here. So I'm going to begin with a 8 vertex circle. So let's Shift A, mesh, circle. Make sure it says 8 here. It's 32 by default. So I'll scale it down. Move it up. Now I'm going to add a subdivision modifier with 2 levels. Scale it down a bit more. Okay, so into edit mode, extrude with E, Z, to about crotch height, just below the crotch. I'm going to continue with adding some more geometry now and roughly shaping it to the bear. I'm going to join these center edges. I'll extrude the pant legs down now, so I'm selecting each side, EZ. Right, I'll continue, and add some loops across here. Make sure there's one roughly in the center. Now I'll continue shaping in various ways using sculpting, proportional editing. I use loop tools, which help to relax the mesh. Loop tools is included in Blender, just needs enabling in preferences. So if you right click, you can go loop tools, relax, and so on. And we'll mirror. So object mode, add modifier mirror, move it to the top of the stack. If it's not at the top, it won't perform properly. And then apply. Now I'll go to sculpt mode and continue shaping. So now it needs a little proportional editing in edit mode. So vertex select, turn on proportional editing. We've lost a bit of symmetry there. We'll sort that out in a sec. What I'm going to do is select the center line, turn off proportional editing and do SX0 so they line up, and then pick which is the better side. Probably the left side. Delete the right hand side. And now mirror again. Object mode, apply. Right, that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to apply the subdivision. And we can bind the pants now. Let's turn off X-ray. I'm going to shade them smooth at this point. So right click, shade smooth. And then turn Avatar back on. Now the origin of these pants is up here, and that can cause problems. So we're going to reset the origin with Control A, all transforms, and that also applies location, rotation and scale. Now the origin of the pants is at the foot of the armature, which is correct. Select the pants, shift select the skeleton, go to Binding and Skinning. We want copy from meshes. Previously it was automatic from bones. Copy weight from bear, so that takes the weights from the bear's body, and bind to armature. And make sure you've got no red warning signs up here, which reminds you that you haven't applied all transforms. We'll select the skeleton, go to pose mode, and we'll try that sit pose we made before. So let's go to choose the sit, and it's a bit crumpled on the legs, so that needs sorting out. It's also pulling down to the toes and the ankles, so we've got some undesirable weights there. So let's get rid of those first. Now if we go into edit mode, select one of these vertices, and we can see that we've got some undesirable weights here. We don't need ankle, toe or foot. I think they got assigned because on a tiny the bones are very close together, so you get some spreading of weights. So let's delete those from the vertex groups, and then that should fix the mesh. So I don't know if we need to go into object mode. No, so we can do it from here. So delete all toes and ankles and feet. Okay, that's done. Compare that one with that one. So that's knee left, and that has a spread of weight. So let's copy that one to that one. Copy that one to that one. And what's wrong here? So they're just knee, and that's knee and hip. So let's copy along. Or we can weight paint. I haven't shown you weight painting so far. So I'm going to select those. I'm going to select hip left here. Go to weight paint. Enable vertex mask selecting, that's this one. Move the weight slider to 1, strength down to something low like that, and draw brush. Okay, and that's mirrored. Now when you weight paint, make sure that in options, auto normalize is turned on. With auto normalize on, if you paint to one bone, it reduces the weight on other bones. So you get the balance of strength that you want. Okay, so it's not too bad, but it needs smoothing out. Oh, we've got some problem underneath here. So I'm just going to go into, move the slider to the timer to 0. And we'll select those problem vertices underneath. Go back to edit mode. Click away. Now this is coloured in edit mode because I've got vertex group weights ticked in overlays. That's handy for visualising in edit mode. Right, so I shall select a bunch here. And put them back in that pose and see if I've got them all. No. So a few more. Okay. Now I suspect they need a bit more torso, so we're going to test that. So let's go to weight paint mode. And torso. And yeah. Too much torso there. And there. All right, so we're going to try smoothing the legs of the pants now because we've got these jaggies. We'll see what happens. Now underneath we've got some asymmetry there going on. It might be okay once we've done the smoothing. Ankle. So we've missed, yeah, we haven't deleted the ankle on the right. What's on this side? Yeah. So we'll delete the ankle right. Right, so stand him up. And the upper half is behaving so far, so I'll just select the lower half. Turn off active group, choose deform pose bones. Okay, so that's smooth. Then limit total, deform pose bones, and then Q, normalize all. Untick, lock active. And we'll play it again. That's a lot smoother now. That's okay. You know what's happening here? So look what's happening here. Too much pelvis. Right, let's test the knee bend. IKs are still on, so let's turn those off. That's pretty good. Now hip bend. And that's okay. So let's put him back into T-pose. Do a final couple of tests. Oh, there shouldn't be any chest on the waistband. Don't want to remove it completely in case we need to do further tweaking. Okay, that looks a bit smoother. So to double check, let's select those 4 rows and do smooth. Limit total, normalize all. We'll do limit total on the whole mesh. And normalize all. Okay. Okay, that's fine. So we'll add some seams now and unwrap the pants. And a seam across the center underneath. And then Control E, mark seam. And then go to UV editing, select all of the pants, and then you unwrap. Let's turn off proportional editing. And then while these are all selected, R-90, GY, that's Y, not Z, it's Y on the 2D square here. S to scale. Now I want to put the centre of the pants in the centre of the grid, just in case anybody wants to do any texturing in Photoshop. Right, so right click that centre line, and choose Align Auto, and then press P to pin them. Now we'll push these along, select them again, push them along to that centre line. GX. Now we'll unwrap again, so select all, U, unwrap, and that's nice and tidy now. Right, so now let's go to shading. We're going to bake a texture. Now in preferences, just type node and enable node wrangler. That makes things easier when you're handling the nodes. Right, so we haven't added a material yet. So with the pants selected in object mode, come down to the materials button here, and then plus and new. And then this is the shader here. So left click that, and then move your mouse to the left and press Control T. And that adds your texture nodes with mapping and texture coordinate. Right, so let's choose a texture. So we go open. I think I'll choose blue chrysanthemums. Now in the mapping we can increase the repeats. So let's do 3 and see what it looks like. Now to view it, you won't see it in this window, but viewport shading here, you'll see it. So now we need a node for it to bake to. So Shift A, texture, image texture, new, turn off alpha, that's text. Okay. Now we'll come to the World tab. You can either add lights and adjust this strength here or the colour here, or you can do what I do, which is add an HDRI image. You click Use Nodes, click Background and choose Background, or click this button here next to Colour and choose Environment Texture, and then open and browse to any HDRI or EXR texture that you might have. And I like this one. Now you won't see it, but it's there. Strength is 1. We'll begin on 1. We can always increase it later if it's no good. And then render tab here, and make sure you change Eevee to cycles. And start off with very low samples as to test your bake. So I like denoise off, otherwise you get black lines on the seams. So I'm going to start off with just 24 samples and then bake. You can see the progress down here. It'll bake very fast if it's on just a few samples. So that's the result, and that's not too bad already. You've got some shading here between the legs. Now you can get really clever. Move these along and add a bump map. So Shift A, vector bump, put that there, connect the colour to the height, and then the normal to the normal, and then bake again. You can make adjustments to the strength here if you want to, but we're just going to see how it comes out. And that's quite good. That's quite fabricy, a bit dark. So let's increase the brightness of the background. Let's try 2. Bake again. And that's better, I think. But with low samples, it will bake quite fast. Now, before you go any further, you must save this image. So you click here, Image, Save As, Pants Text, and we haven't exported the pants yet. So File, Export, Blender and Avastar DAE. Right, it needs limit total again, but we won't worry. Avastar's done it for us. And let's go in World and try them out. You don't tick with joints for clothes. Leave that unticked. Now, if you wanted to, you could solidify the inside of the legs. Layout screen. X-ray. Deselect the top half. And then Control F, solidify. And then change this to 0.0005. and then scroll in and remove the top bridging faces by going to face select and then putting your mouse on a crossing edge like this. Hold down Alt and left click and then X delete faces. If you don't do that, you'll get funny shading, strange shading. Now you get a rounded look to the bottom, which we don't want. So I'm going to add a modifier, weighted normal. And you get a message to enable auto smooth. So let's just bring that to the top. Enable auto smooth, scroll down. So this is object data, normals, auto smooth. Now it's gone nice and sharp. And export them again. Okay, all seems good. You could use exactly the same method for binding human clothes to a human dev kit. So let's be weight from meshes and then cleaning up afterwards. So I hope you enjoyed these 4 videos and maybe picked up a few tips. And maybe I'll see you in World.